Our next guest says discontinuing the practice of placing children deemed uncontrollable in penal institutions will cause Jamaica to become compliant with several international treaties. Joining us on this Girl Power Tuesday to speak on this controversial issue is the Honorable Minister of Education, Fayval Williams. Morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Jamaica. It's morning time.
Thank you.
Minister, let's start first of all. You made a statement in Parliament last week. It's actually Section 24 of the Childcare and Protection Act. Tell us some more about this change that you're proposing.
Okay, so I am delighted that we are here in this moment in time to be making this change. It has been the practice in Jamaica where sometimes parents or guardians who feel they can't manage their child would bring that child in front of the court and pretty much says this child is uncontrollable. You do what you will with him, judge. And the judge would make, an assessment. And based on the law that exists now, that child could be put into a juvenile correction center, even though the child did not commit any crime or has not run afoul of the law. Simply a parent or guardian is saying the pitney uncontrollable.
And uncontrollable, how we define that, Minister? How did we use to define it? Is there a definition?
I don't believe so.
Judgment
so
call.
now we're going to a mind shift. Because when you label a child uncontrollable, you're kind of saying, I don't know what to do with you. You can't change.
Beyond redemption.
Yes.
Can't do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now we want a mind shift. The law is going to stop using that term uncontrollable, and we're going to go to behavioral issues. And of course, behavioral issues on a range, right? From mild to chronic. So in the instance in which a child is brought before the court, then the judge can make an assessment based on reports that would be done, assessment by psychologists or psychiatrists in order to inform the decision that that judge will make.
Yeah. You first indicated that you wanted to do this amendment in 2020. It's been a long process. What have been the challenges, or is it just the process, which is why we are where we are today?
Both. If you recall, when I started at the ministry in September of 2020, we were in the throes of the pandemic. So all our efforts were really centered around getting our children through. But at the same time, there was work going on in the background. Additionally, across government, there are maybe hundreds of pieces of legislation that need to be amended, changed. And so there's, the process, you have to be prioritized in the process and so forth. But here we are. Today in Parliament, I'll open the debate. And then after the lower house moves to the upper house and moves through the process.
And that's. Are we looking at another 3 years, Minister?
No.
Or is this going to be?
No.
I don't know. I don't know what the process looks like from here.
All right. So the process after the lower house, I'm expecting that it will be passed today.
Okay.
And then it moves to the upper house, where it is also debated, and if there are any corrections, additions, then it would happen there. And then it moves to assent by the GG and so on. But it would be a very short process left to go.
One of the things you mentioned earlier, Minister, is that it was also a fail-safe for parents, guardians, to say, I can't control this child. This child is uncontrollable. Put them in somewhere, take them. What will be the resource that's now available to those parents?
All right. So, let's say the parent gets to that point we're describing, and they've decided somehow I cannot manage as a parent. After going through the process in terms of assessment and so on, the judge could decide that this child needs to go to a non-residential therapeutic center. Okay. Right. So, which is a facility that we opened last week at the Maxwell Park Children's Home. Beautiful building architecturally. If you look at the grounds, awesome, because you want it to be inviting, you want it to be
And
healing.
conducive for them to heal.
But
yes.
that's where the child and his or her family would meet the professionals. You have observation rooms where a professional can be outside looking in and see how that child and parent interact with each other, can see how the child interacts with what's in the room. You have a sensory room if that child has special needs, and so on. So we have this location now to which parents and professionals can meet, and you can begin the process of healing, of therapy. And, obviously the goal is to retain that child, not to retain, to help that child to become the wholesome child that we want, to understand what it is that that child is feeling, how the child is processing what has been happening to him or her.
Treat with that.
Yes.
Yeah. And help the parents too, because that's exactly.
Because the child, we would love the child to be integrated with the family.
Yeah.
Yes.
But we mentioned this center at Maxwell Park Children's Home, which is fantastic. But in terms of other resources, as Harris mentioned, resources, I mean, there are many more of our children who will need to end up in facilities like this. This is one.
Right.
Are there plans for more?
Right. So the other type of facility could be a residential therapeutic. So it's decided that the behavioral issues are on the chronic end of the spectrum. And so this child could be referred to a residential center. There as well will be more intensive intervention by professionals, and the child can be at a residential center up to a year.
Okay, but that's still one more. So how
Right.
are we looking
So
at replicating over the next?
Exactly, because a parent in Westmoreland would need to travel to Kingston or to St. Anne. So we want to put the other centers across Jamaica. Just last Friday, we went to look at a place in St. Elizabeth. It's going to need some work, it's going to need some rehabilitation, but you can see where our mindset is in terms of having more such centers. But I want to point out, I'm sure you've heard the cry that there are not enough professionals in the field.
Social workers?
Yes, social workers, psychologists, psychiatrists, those who specialize in children and adolescents. And we're hoping that this sends a signal to the professionals that the government is really serious about ensuring the mental well-being of our children, and they will be encouraged, to study, to enter the industry. And in time, we have that kind of a robust industry in Jamaica where persons are not afraid to talk about their mental wellness.
Yeah, it's important, Minister. Well, I look forward to seeing the progression of this, because I think it's great to change not just the mindset of the children themselves when people say you're uncontrollable, but for them to understand mental well-being for the parents and guardians and for the people who are engaging with them.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And what about the facilities that already exist for our children now? Are we looking at going into those and training up the folks who are in those facilities so that they're on par?
Right, so we'd love to see a much higher standard of care in the child care protection sector in Jamaica. I think over the years we've just kind of evolved. We want to see way more social workers that are trained operating in our facilities, who know how to interact in a proper way with the children, the adolescents they come across. We have to do that. We have a number of children in state care in different modalities. We have some in families, and so the training is absolutely needed to help us lift the standards in that sector.
Yeah.
Excellent.
A lot of work to be done, Minister, but you sound like you're pushing.
Absolutely.
We know the
we
importance.
have to do
this is
that.
our future.
We have to do that because a child that is growing up traumatized in an environment where they see violence is visited on them. What kind of child is that going to be? What kind of adult is that child going to be? It's an adult who is going to visit violence on others. So we have to stop it at some point.
Children learn what they live, right? That's what the
Absolutely.
song said. Children
Absolutely.
live what they learn. If we teach them the way, to love in their hearts then.
Yes, the goal is to
love in
create
the
a
world.
gentler Jamaica.
We hear you. Thank you, Minister, for being
Thank
here
you
this
for
morning.
having me.
Honourable Minister of Education, Fayval Williams, here with us this morning.
Coming up next, mushroom. Oh my gosh. The new psychedelic drug among our youth.
Just when you think we're carrying enough for our children.